Here's some basic items that I use on my bikes. I normally have these on for a kickstand, but I wanted it to be a little taller, so I bought some of these. The only problem with these is you have to modify them quite a bit. You have to get a longer bolt right here, and then you have to trim the front here also with the longer screw, because you're actually going to go in this direction instead of this direction. So there's a nut on the bike where you want to go in this way, but you have to cut some material here for this washer and the head of the screw to go on here. Otherwise it's all kind of like cockeyed and stuff. It doesn't sit flat. So I still use this one here on the other e-bikes. It's a little bit easier to manage. This one here, you have to watch where your pedals are. It'll kind of get caught with the pedals. This one will not. This one sits up higher. This one sits lower when it's. So here's the difference between this one on where it sits on the bike. Yeah, obviously it's broke, right here. And this one here, you can see how much higher it sits, and you can see, well, you can't see it on this side. The nut is like on the back side over here. But you can see how it tucks in a lot higher up versus this one. Then I have the shocks. My bike has a 220 and the spring is a 550. And this is an air shock. It's a little bit smaller. I was testing a bunch of different shocks, but I've got quite a few of these still. This is just a spring. You can actually change the spring out for the spring rate to be a little bit less, so it's not so stiff. You can also adjust your height here. It's kind of like a coilover shock. And this one here, you would want to use your pump to pump the air into it for your recommended weight. And the front shocks also here are air, and they go in down here. The only problem with these forks, you have to turn the bike upside down, otherwise the oil will come out the bottom. And these are the brakes that I use for the 4 pistons. The hydraulic brakes that I have are 4 pistons per wheel, 2 per side. And these are the brakes that I use. They last quite a bit. They stop pretty much on a dime. You have to be careful when you hit the brakes. I mean, you'll throw yourself over the handlebars if you're not too careful. They stop pretty good. I'm not sponsored by anybody in here. I'm just showing you guys what I use. These are my tail lights that I have. These are brake light, tail lights, and blinkers. I modified this one to fit under my seat a little bit better. This one broke. Not sure what happened, but the lens cracked, and so I'm just going to swap it out. I just got to basically unbolt everything on the back here and then just swap it over. So no big deal. It's just these 2 outer bolts or nuts, and it comes right off. This one is just like a big metal bracket, and it kind of gets in the way. You can put a license plate on it if you want to make it street legal. If that's what you want to do, that's by all means go for it. But that's not what I'm using it for, so I don't really need the license plate bracket. And then we have the security system. As you can see, it has the buttons, and you can hear it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this one on since this one's broken down here. Still not sure how that broke, but I've got plenty of these laying around. So let's go ahead and put them on right now. And it's done. So sometimes you have to put a lock nut on the back here. You have to get like a longer bolt. I've seen it to where the bolts go straight through the metal frame here, and then it's threaded into the kickstand. But if it's stripped out on the kickstand, you're gonna have to get a longer bolt with a lock nut on the back to secure. So, but that's what it looks like. It sits down a little bit low. Something did hit the other one. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe it was a curb. Probably hit it going pretty quick or something. But usually they don't break as often. That's the first one I've seen break in a long time. But that's about where they sit. So now that it's working, I can actually use the kickstand, and this is how it sits when it's good to go. Here's the other kickstand. It doesn't attach here. It attaches up a little bit closer. There is an attachment point already built into the bike for these, but when I don't want to move the kickstand right now. Well, I guess I can. Lean it over. But when you come around, it'll actually hit the kickstand. You can see where it's kind of hitting from time to time. That's the only issue I noticed with this one. So both kickstands do have a height adjustment. If it's too long, too short, you can loosen the Allen screw here on both of them. This is the one that's broken when I just swapped out, And you can actually see inside, that is the adjustment. Down inside there, you can kind of see it just slides up and down and adjusts your height. I took the seat off and I'm gonna go ahead and put my light back on, but I have to make some adjustments. I have to take this apart. I made this little back piece here. I just gotta unscrew this one, unscrew that one, and take it off of here. Do the same to this one. It's been sitting around waiting for this opportunity because it's all dusty, and but yeah, I'm just gonna basically just reattach it and then put it back on the bike. A little bit safer at night. All right, so you can see it's a little off center, but it's not much. And that's what it looks like with the lights on. Still kind of bright, even though it's kind of like a cool tinted look to it. But these are like all of the different settings. This video is gonna be jacked. All right, and that's the left blinker, right blinker, and the brake light. Right there. All right. So I want to show you guys this. I actually still have my 10mm. It's not lost, but my 8mm is. All right, so for the seat post, they usually come pretty long when you order them. So I have this tool here that has done a great job at cutting them. It's like a pipe cutter. You just line it up on with this roller here on where you want it to cut. You just slowly, turn it, get a little tighter as you rotate it around the pipe here. And eventually cuts it pretty quick. I usually cut off about 3 or 4 inches because they're very long. And if you notice here, I have my seat at that position there. I could raise it up a bit more. This is where I can reach the ground when I stop, no big deal. But you can see how I clear my shock. So I had to cut quite a bit off, but no problem. So this is what the lights look like at night. The front has like a progressive sides. It came with like one that was like square. It was hard to see at night, but this one has more of a wide view when you're riding at night, and it kind of goes out pretty far. So this is what it looks like. If you guys know of one that's a little bit better, let me know. Be glad to look into those and maybe change it out. But I mean, so far so good with this one. All right, so this brake has about 3,000 plus miles on it. It's due. You can see down in here, it's almost metal to metal. It is time. I'm surprised it actually still works. I don't hear any grinding on this yet, but it's getting really close. So, all right, let's get started on this now. So I think I got these off of Amazon. I'm not in any way promoting these at all. I just know they work really well. I put this on the front and they stop pretty quick. Here's the different kinds that they have. The premium, the performance, and the commuter. I just go for the premium. So, but that's pretty much it. I think they're pretty expensive. They're like 30 bucks a set. So, but they work really well. These are the more expensive versions, I believe. So I'll put a link in the description for you guys. It's like a little lock washer that comes out right here. Just pull straight up. It has a little tab on it. Just pull up on that. And then this Allen will unscrew, come out this way, and it will release everything in here. And you should be able to pull it out. All right, I've got the new pads in. I probably should have changed out the rotor. But in order to do that, I got to take this whole thing apart, and it's not worth it right now at this moment in time. So, but the new pads are on. You can see that there. The hardest part about getting that in, the pads drop down, but this metal retainer spring that keeps the pads away from each other, that comes up, and it also goes back down. And if you can see, it locks in on the inside of each one, and it kind of keeps them separated. So now I just got to break them in, kind of thing. Another 3,000 miles or more.